The National Board wants you to videotape, select a piece of videotape that best shows or best supports what you've written in your written commentary.
Well, videotaping at first was very painful for me, as I think it is for a lot of people.
It's probably why candidates tend to put so much energy and concern into the videotape that they often forget why they're videotaping. It's not an easy thing to do. Everybody is hypercritical, and teachers probably more so than any other population of people.
I make some really ugly faces.
Teachers know that when they hear their voice, it's like scratches on the chalkboard.
A lot of times I hear candidates say, well, I'm so nervous as soon as that video camera, when I click it on, I'm afraid that all of the students will just go wild. Everyone will be waving at the camera. They're just gonna be making silly faces.
Get over it. Get over yourself and get back to why you're videotaping in the first place.
I think some of the best tips I've heard about getting your class and getting yourself comfortable with it is really the preparation.
You really need to read your portfolio instructions. Read them, then reread them, so that you really have an understanding of what is happening in that entry.
The value of videotaping multiple times was really practicing, getting myself ready, feeling comfortable, getting them ready, ironing out all the technology issues, making sure that I had good audio, making sure that I had good angles, practicing what it was that the portfolio instructions directed me to actually do.
One of the biggest mistakes is, videotaping and then looking at the questions later.
I think making sure that you communicate with the office and saying, I'm going to be videotaping today, so that way you don't have to worry about those distractions. Making sure that you have maybe a sign posted on your door saying, videotaping in progress. You look at your class schedule and your school schedule to make sure there's not going to be any fire drills or lockdowns, and then letting the students know that this is to be able to help you and to help them, and really telling them about the process so that they get more comfortable with it also.
You have to be as authentic as you can in your classroom. You almost have to get to the point where you forget that the camera is there.
Put yourself in the position of success where you'll be able to choose from a variety of videotapes rather than forcing yourself to have to fit your videotape into this little piece of parameter. You want to have options.
Yeah, you gotta watch it a few times, and you gotta watch it once with no sound at all, just so that you can get used to your twerks and your mannerisms and your faces and all of those things that you just see and you have to look away. But you also need to watch it with sound, maybe even not watching it, but just listening. What are some of those things that you're saying or repeating or doing time and time and time again? Get over those things and get back to the rubric. They're really looking for a slice of your practice. The videotape, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever they require of you, it isn't your whole practice. It is impossible to take 15 minutes and really show who you are as a teacher.
You really want to key in on those segments that are most closely tied to your standards and to your portfolio instructions, and also those segments that demonstrate your students' abilities.
It gives you an opportunity to show what your classroom is like, what the environment that you've established for your students is. It gives you an opportunity to show them how your students react and interact based on your facilitation as a teacher.
They're wanting to see that discourse between student and teacher. They want to see the teacher's role versus the student's role. They want to see how students are empowered in your classroom.
But when you take that 15 minutes out and you support it with a written commentary that says who you are, what you do, why you do it, and why it's important for students, then that videotape piece is an opportunity for you to make something that might be invisible and make it visible for assessors to see. When you watch your video, look for evidence of the rubric and watch it with a friend who can tell you to knock it off. Is that what they're looking for? It bothers you more than it bothers anyone else.
What's great to do and really essential is to analyze your rubric. You really need to know your level 4 rubric for this video entry. And so take each bullet point of this rubric, read it, think about it, and analyze it. Break it down into each one of these points. And then think about, what does that mean? What does it look like? What would it look like in your classroom if you had to show evidence of this particular point? What would it look like? And so you'd write that down.
I know that that's something that I did. I would give it to colleagues, I would give it to friends, and I would use that rubric so that way people could say, even that are not in the education field, this is something that I saw, or I didn't see this, and this is something that's stated in the rubric. So that might be really beneficial too.
I just look at the kids and that was the first moment of reflection where I realized that this is something that's going to help me, because I was able to say to myself, if those are the faces that I'm making that I'm not aware of, then what is the impact on my students? So what the videotaping did for me was make me say to myself, I need to change some things. And actually that part of it made me more aware of my abilities, and it actually made me want to do the process even more, because I said to myself, if I've seen this little bit, what is there still left for me to see about myself?
But what it really allows you to do is step back and get yourself into the perspective of your students. That is what they hear and see day in and day out. So give yourself an opportunity, instead of watching your video for criticizing yourself, use it as an opportunity to reflect on, you know what, when I do that, it's extremely distracting to my students. Maybe I need to be more cognizant or aware of those things so that I might be able to think about my presence in the classroom a little differently.